We have a transition question, and we've got instead still specifically. We see this one a lot now. This crops up from time to time now. Second, that's sequential or additive. Haven't really seen that, but, well, let's read the sentence before the underline, after the underline, see what the right relationship is. Archaeologist Sue Brunning explains why the 7th century ship burial site at Sutton Hoo in England was likely the tomb of a king. First. Well, that's a tip-off. It's going to be second. I can tell right away. The cold artifacts inside the ship suggest that the person buried with them was a wealthy and respected king. Okay, so there's gold, so it's had to be somebody wealthy and powerful. Second, the massive effort required to bury the ship would have likely only been undertaken for a king. So it's a huge effort, had to be someone really important like a king. This is a first and a second. Dead giveaways for the transition ideas here. D. Okay, transitions. Let's read the sentence before the underlined and after and get the relationship of the ideas between them. And then we'll pick our answer. In November 1934, such and such was living in what must have seemed like the ideal city for a young artist, Paris. Well, yeah, of course. She was studying firsthand the color-saturated style of France's modernist masters and beginning to make a name for herself as a painter. Cher Gill, the such and such, longed to return to her childhood home of India. Only there, she believed, could her art truly flourish. Okay, so she's in Paris, the ideal city for an artist, but she wants to go home to India. So despite that, let's see, possibly still, even though she's in Paris, still, she longed to return to her home. I think that's going to be it. Let's just check the others. Therefore, no, it's not a cause effect from the previous sentence. Indeed, it's not an emphasis. And furthermore, it's not really an additive point. It's still. So she's in Paris. Awesome place to be for an artist. Still, she wants to go home to her home in India. A is the answer. Okay, we've got a transition words. Fittingly. We've seen this one a couple times too, and it even was the answer at one of them. Interesting. Let's see how it works in this one. Wish cycling. What is that? Putting non-recyclable items into recycling bins under the mistaken belief that those items can be recycled. Ultimately does more harm than good. Yeah, I think I might have been guilty of doing that once or twice. You put it in thinking it's the right recyclable, but it's not. Non-recyclable items such as greasy pizza boxes can contaminate recyclable materials, rendering entire batches unusable. I won't be doing that again. Sounds like it's pretty bad. Non-recyclable products can damage recycling plants' machinery. So if we contaminate the non-recyclable items, can contaminate recyclable materials, making the entire batch unusable. And those non-recyclable products can damage recycling plants' machinery. Okay, so these aren't quite the same idea. This is the non-recyclable items contaminating recyclable batches. And this is something about kind of like an extra point. Non-recyclable products can damage a plant. So fittingly, I don't think it's fittingly. I don't think so. On the contrary, it's not contrasting. Moreover, could be an added point. It's like an extra idea. It's slightly different, but an extra idea. Just showing that mixing them's not good, I think. Nevertheless, it's not contrasting. Nevertheless, it's not contrasting the previous. I believe it's an additive point. Non-recyclable items in recyclable batches cause a problem. Moreover, non-recyclable products can cause damage in recycling plants. I think that's the idea. Okay, we've got a transition question again. Let's read the sentence before the underline, after the underline, get the right idea. At 2 weeks old, the time their critical socialization period begins, wolves can smell but cannot see. It's interesting. Or hear, by the way. Domesticated dogs can see and hear and smell by the end of 2 weeks. So these are different ideas. They're kind of contrasting the difference between wolves and dogs. So my guess is it's probably going to be by contrast. This relative lack of sensory input may help explain why wolves behave so differently around humans than dogs do. From a very young age, wolves are more wary and less exploratory. So this is kind of a result of one sees and smells and hears, the other doesn't. I don't think that last sentence really matters too much. Domesticated dogs, I wouldn't say in other words. I'm not simplifying it and stating it differently. For instance, it's not an example. And accordingly, domesticated dogs accordingly can see. It's not in accordance with. That's not the right idea. It's by contrast. By contrast, dogs can see, hear, and smell, which is different than the wolves. Okay, this is definitely a transition words question. And let's read the sentence before the underline and after the underlined. We'll get the relationship of ideas between them, hopefully the correct one, and that will help us identify the correct answer. To discover which fruit varieties were grown in Italy's Umbria region before the introduction of industrial farming, botanist such and such often turns to centuries-old lists of cooking ingredients. Oh, that's a good idea. So if you look back at the old recipes and cooking ingredients, then you kind of know what fruit varieties were grown in the region. Okay. She analyzes Renaissance paintings of Umbria as they can provide accurate representations of fruits that were grown there long ago. Okay, so this is a different way to get to the same information. It's not the same idea, but it's a different idea, but also kind of a cool thought. If you look at the old paintings, you'll see the fruit they painted. So it's kind of an additive extra point. In some, she analyzes. No, it's not summing everything up. It's not like a conclusion. It's not instead. It's not as if she does this second sentence. She looks at the paintings and not the cooking ingredients. Thus, no, it's not a cause-effect conclusion. It's additionally. She looks at recipes and ingredients. Additionally, she analyzes the old paintings. Cool idea. D is correct. So, okay, we have a transition question here. And let's read the first sentence and then the sentence after the underlined and assess the relationship of ideas to help us answer the question. So, although those who migrated to California in 1849 dreamed of finding gold nuggets in stream beds, the state's richest deposits were buried deeply in rock beyond the reach of individual prospectors. Okay, so basically you had to be like a mining firm to really get the gold. No duh, because most of it's under the ground. Okay. By 1852, many had given up their fortune-hunting dreams and gone to work for one of the large companies capable of managing California's complex mining operations. So this is simply a result, right? Most individuals aren't going to find the gold, so companies do. So eventually the individuals, as a result, went to work for the companies. So it's not an additive point. It's not still. It's consequently. It's a cause effect. It's not next. C is the correct answer.